everyone. How's everyone doing? We're just gonna let a few more people come in before we start. Tiffany, if you're in the room, just try to send me a request. Otherwise, I can send one to you. Hope everyone is having a good week. I'm sending out positive vibes to everyone. All the good vibes, because we all need it every day. But I can't believe the last episode of Testimony Tuesdays was a month ago. My schedule got really crazy, so I couldn't do evenings. So I was like, okay, we're just gonna have to put Testimony Tuesdays on hold. But we're back. So I'm not gonna be surprised if that happens in the next few weeks, but I'll keep you guys posted in terms of my schedule and when the next couple episodes will be. But it's good to see everyone. Let me see if Tiffany is in here. Okay. Oh. Tiffany, it's saying that you have to upgrade to join. So you may have to log out and upgrade Instagram and come back in. Yeah, because I see it says must upgrade app in order to join. So yeah, just try logging out and do the upgrade and then come back in. So I will wait to do her introduction because I definitely want her to be here to hear her introduction. I think so far that's been everyone's favorite thing to hear who is being interviewed, to hear all the accolades that they've accomplished in their life. So I'll definitely wait for that. So everyone, comment how your week has been going. I've been trying to hold on to these really nice days of weather because apparently we're going to be reaching like the 20s this Friday. I just don't understand. Like, it's April, right? So it should be getting towards summer, you would think, but no. East Coast is just so unpredictable. Like, we had 77, I think, was the high today in PA. And then tomorrow it's supposed to be maybe 60, and then the next day like 40, and then 20. So I'm like, make it make sense. Please make it make sense. That's why my allergies are like crazy. Like every week it tricks me. And they're like, don't put your winter clothes away yet. So I have my sweaters and my jackets still out and my spring clothes still out just in case, because every day is a different season. I know, right? Wait, what? Snow? Oh no. No, we can't do that. See, I said goodbye to snow a long time ago. Like in February, I was like, okay, peace be with you, and we'll see each other in December. But if it's snowing tomorrow in your area, I'm sorry. And I really hope that we don't have snow anytime soon here, because that was a lot. It literally snowed like, I would say 7 times. Which is a lot. Like in the past few years, it hasn't snowed much. Oh, feel better, April. Feel better. Yeah, yep, my allergies have been crazy. It's ridiculous. And especially now that everyone looks at you sideways when you sneeze or cough. It's like, dang, what are you supposed to do? You can't really like hold that back in. Yeah. Yep, snow can miss us, honestly. I remember there were some places that were having snow last week, like down in the West Coast. And I'm like, I don't know how you guys are doing it. I would move in a heartbeat because I was kind of a little bit spoiled with the warm weather the past 2. So yeah, 1 second. It looks like Tiffany's trying to message me. There might be something going wrong with her live. But it was really, yeah, April, we are close. So I hope that we don't have snow. But if you guys get snow, there's a good chance we might get a little something. I hope not. Let me see. I'm just checking with Tiffany to see if she was able to upgrade. Rain. Yeah, see, rain's not too bad. And like April showers bring May flowers. You know, that's fine. But when you start, you know, taking a back step into snow, nah. We can't, like, we suffered enough. We really did. Man. So what is one fun thing that you guys have done this month? Because I can't believe April's almost done. It's wild. I can't believe it's April 20th. I remember when it was just April Fool's Day. And this year is just speeding by so fast. So for me, I would have to say, what is one fun thing I did? I think I gave myself a really great day off last week from all the work, and I just took a long walk in my neighborhood and like to some surrounding store areas, and it was just great because the weather was good and I wanted to take advantage of it. And you know, being cooped up indoors most of the day, it makes you feel suffocated. So it was nice to be outside, get some fresh air, and you know, kind of just think about life. I think that's something that a lot of us can relate to, just walking. Let me see. Yeah, sorry guys, I'm just making sure that Tiffany's able to update her app because apparently it's not allowing her to join the live. What, waking up at 5:30? Oh yeah, waking up early. I think that's like the best time to take a walk because you see the sunrise and there's no one outside and it's just really peaceful and calm. And also evenings too, like when the sun is setting is also really nice for walks. Heat of the day, I'm like, okay, this is just not my thing, especially in the summer. But yeah, those early morning walks are great. I remember when I used to live in the islands, I would wake up early and just walk on the beach. And it was really nice because you just hear the waves and of the ocean, and you're just thinking about how grateful you are to witness all that beauty in the world. So, you know, walking is definitely fun. And it's like the one form of exercise that I think, besides dance, you don't really feel it. Like it's something that we do anyway to get to point A to B. So why not just walk a long distance with some music, or, you know, even if you don't have music, it's still fun. Close to the beach, yeah. Yeah, you know, it's funny because when I lived in Florida, I wasn't really anywhere near the beach except for a 30-minute drive. So I would have to drive down to the beach and then park and then walk. But honestly, I think it was better that way because if I lived on the beach, I would not have been able to study. Like, I would just be sitting there looking at the ocean all day, just walking, because I just like that ocean breeze. So it's a good thing that I had to go out of my way to get to the beach in Florida. And also, like, there's always something going on Ocean Drive, Miami Beach. So it's kind of like a blessing in disguise. And it's really not that cheap to live on the beach either, because that's like a waterfront view. So from a student's perspective, I don't think many people lived on the beach. Most people lived either in the city or in the suburbs. I was like more of a suburbs type. Yeah, yep, I would be full-time on the beach. It's so easy to just sit there, and it's dangerous too because I have gotten sunburn just being outside for hours, and I forgot to reapply my sunscreen. But it's really so easy to just stay out there all day, like on a Saturday, because they'll have like some flea markets going on, people selling handcrafted beach clothes, straw hats, and things like that. So, you know, you just kind of walk around and look at all that's going on, and then you have the people on their dirt bikes just riding around. And, you know, it's just, if you like to people watch, you'll definitely be stuck at Miami Beach for hours. Yeah, Tiffany has not answered yet. I'm trying to see if she can restart her app, but in the meantime, we'll just chill and talk. So I saw a lot of you guys at the PHC 1 hour, 1 year, I said 1 hour, 1 year reunion. That was really fun. Wasn't allowed to wear a bikini because I had the worst sunburn. Oh man. Yeah, that is the worst. When I had sunburn, I think it was 2 years ago, I had it on my neck and I didn't even realize it because it was like on my back. So I just felt like a lot of pain. I'm like, yeah, this is probably sunburn, because I remember my hair was up and I actually was using one of the city bikes to like ride around on the pier area. So I was like, that's probably what happened, because I didn't reapply my sunscreen. So I definitely learned my lesson the hard way, and it is so painful. So I feel for you, April, like to have it on your stomach, ouch. Oh my gosh. Yeah, and that's the thing too. See, like, you're not even so worried about your own pain. You're just worried about the fact that your parents are going to find out and you're going to get in trouble. That's the irony of it. Alright, hopefully Tiffany should be able to log in soon. She's having some issues with updating her app. But, yeah, sunburn, and also just bringing home sand. I think that's one of my pet peeves about being at the beach, is you just have random sand with you that is very difficult to get rid of. So, you know, it's like you get to the point where you can wash your feet off, and then your sandals probably already had sand on them, so it's kind of, you know, defeats the purpose. So you're always gonna have sand with you when you come back home. I saw this video the other day of this guy or this lady, she brought home sand, like took sand from the beach and she put it in her bathtub for her dog to like have a beach experience. And I was just like, why? Like, it was cute, but I'm like, who's gonna clean this mess up? That's what I'm thinking. Oh yeah. Yeah, I tan very fast. Like, I could be outside for maybe 2 hours and I'm already like bronzed up. It's crazy. And that's why when I was in the islands, like I was like 3 shades darker than I am, because I was like, you can't avoid the sun over there. It literally just glares on you all day. But ever since this, you know, 2020 hit us, I've been literally mainly indoors, whether it's work or like home. So barely any sunshine. That's bad, because you need sun for vitamin D. But I try to get outside whenever I can. Let me send Tiffany a message real quick. So, yeah, beach. I would have to say the best beaches I've been to are in the Caribbean, but I know there's a lot of hidden treasures in the States too. Like, I haven't seen all the beaches in Cali yet. I've heard about like Malibu and all that. When I was down in Cali, it was Venice Beach that I went to, and I think it was Dockweiler Beach. So, but they weren't really like your typical beaches. Like, for example, Venice Beach, I think, was more of people dancing and, you know, like break dancers, mimes and all that. And then Dockweiler Beach was like the place that you could have cookouts and stuff. So it wasn't like, I didn't really see people really in the water or lounging or anything. But I've heard the place to really go is like Malibu and like elsewhere. Staying by the pool. Oh, nice. Yeah. Yeah, pool is good too. It's like a cool, like, controlled environment, you know. Oh, thank you. Kicking it with Jazz. La Jolla Beach in San Diego and Pacific Beach. Oh, okay. It wasn't really, yeah, like, I don't know, I just feel as though with with Cali, I feel in my mind that the beaches are always so beautiful. But okay, great. I see Tiffany in here. So, welcome everyone who just came in. I'm going to read Tiffany's introduction and invite her into the room. But for those who are joining for the first time, I'm Dr. Beauty. I started this interview session and series in September of 2020, and I just wanted to use it as a way to pick people's brains about what makes them tick from different industries. So I've spoken with fellow medical professionals, authors, chefs, fashion industry individuals, and it's just really cool to see a window into the way people think and what drives them and what they've overcome in their lives. So that's pretty much what this series is about. And this page, Dr. Beauty, has been around since 2017, but I feel as though this is my favorite project that I've conducted on this page. So I really appreciate all of your support and everyone who has been interviewed thus far. It's been a pleasure hearing your stories. So without further ado, I'm just going to read Tiffany's intro and then I'll bring her in. Dr. Tiffany Caesar is a Black Studies scholar who unapologetically embraces her work as a holistic healer. She holds a PhD in African American and African Studies. Her current educational practice has an emphasis on Black women and self-care. She serves as a cultural heritage ambassador at the Nelson Mandela Museum in Mthatha, South Africa, and fellow at the Hush House Community Museum in Detroit, Michigan. The latter focuses on cross-cultural dialogue and social justice issues. Dr. Caesar has created an online series called Black Meditations with Dr. Caesar that shares stories of national and international leaders, artists, scholars, and activists using their work to heal and build the Black community. Her latest online public series on Black meditations was Mothering Self, Healing Practices During COVID-19. Now the series continues to focus on Black women and self-care in the 4-part series From Struggle Love to Self-Care. Her latest publication, titled Phyllis Mthatha Revisited, The Politics of Mothering Black Resistance Movements Through Writing, was featured in the International Journal of African Renaissance in 2020. She currently teaches 5th grade in New Iberia, Louisiana, while working on publications, community, and academic endeavors. So everyone, please put your round of applause emojis in the comments as I bring in Dr. Caesar. Good evening.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Great.
How are you doing?
Great. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for your patience and allowing me to get the technology together. This is my first Instagram live episode. So I appreciate you and your audience for your patience and allowing me to upgrade.
Oh, my pleasure. And thank you for not saying, you know what, forget about this, let's just do this another day. I think everyone from hearing your introduction was more than willing to delve more into your story. So thank you for updating and coming back to join us. So how are you doing this evening?
I am fine. I'm so happy that I was like, that I was able to get through. I was like, okay, what do I do? So I literally deleted my Instagram app and then I had to relog in on my iPhone and I didn't know my password. So I had to find out my password and then I finally was able to put Instagram back on my phone and recreate a new password and get back on. And then I saw the gray box that you were talking about. And then I was like, okay, if this doesn't work, I don't know what to do, but I'm so happy that, that helped. So I'm doing much better now that I'm able to have this beautiful conversation.
I'm happy to hear that. So we usually start off these interviews with a little icebreaker. So my question to you is, what is one accomplishment that you were able to achieve thus far this year that surprised you, that you didn't think that you were going to be able to do?
Well, I would definitely say that publishing my last article, Phyllis Dundala, mothering Black resistance movements in South Africa and Detroit, was a huge accomplishment because I started that article about 3 years ago. And so I was just so happy that I was able to work with a writing group that I meet with once a week. And they encouraged me, they edited my drafts, and really helped me to get this article published. And with COVID-19, with me not being directly in higher ed and teaching fifth grade, those are some of the things that would make it difficult to finish an academic writing. But I did finish it. So I'm so proud that even after transitioning, from higher ed to K through 12 and moving through a pandemic, that I was able to still finish that article. So I'm super proud of myself for finishing that article.
Well, congratulations to you for accomplishing that feat. And I know, like you said, the pandemic has pushed so many deadlines forward for a lot of us. So that is no small accomplishment, especially when it comes to getting published. So congratulations to you for that. Yes. And you mentioned working in higher ed. And
Mm-hmm.
for those who tuned in and heard the introduction, we heard that you have your PhD in African and African American studies. So would you be able to share your educational background with us more in detail, and what inspired you to pursue your current career path?
Thank you so much. So my background is I have a PhD in African American and African Studies with a specialization in African Studies and urban education. And what pushed me towards the trajectory of Black Studies was when I was in high school. I went to an international studies high school. And while I was there, I was able to meet Black people from all around the world. So within my community, I had people from Somalia. At my school, there were people from Haiti, Nigeria, Ghana, just all around the world, Eritrea. And I remember being a very curious person, um, saying, wow, these people look like me, but they're different. I noticed that their language was different, the attire was different. And so I set out on doing my own, I guess you would say, research by sitting at the different lunch tables. And by that, I was able to befriend a lot of different people. And I realized I started to cultivate my own ideals surrounding the United States and its population that included Africans and Africans within the diaspora. And so that kind of sparked my interest on studying Black people from various parts around the world.
That's very interesting because, in a sense, you were immersed in that community with people, as you said, that looked like you, but came from different walks of life.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of propelled you and motivated you to pursue that ultimate career path. And so, what were some of the differences that you were able to appreciate between the different groups of people that were at that school?
One of the differences that I was really able to appreciate was culture. Differences within culture. And within culture, you have differences in religion. For example, my friends who were from Somalia were Muslim. Differences in food. For example, when I would go over my friend's house, the food was different, language, um, and things of that nature. And even though there were cultural differences, there were also similarities. For example, there was a strong rootedness in family, friends, working together, and community. So it was through my ability to become friends with different people from different spaces around the world that I realized, yes, there were those cultural differences, but when you strike a conversation with people, when you go to their homes and you engage them, and they engage me, you see, well, hey, we're not that different at all. And then later on, once I start studying, and learning about the diaspora and how different populations of Black people came to the United States, then I was able to further, deepen my understanding, on, just the differences and reasons why people came. But yeah, so those were some of the differences that I was able to begin to understand, but also appreciate.
That's very interesting because when you mentioned the African diaspora, and especially with first generation students like myself, I'm first generation Nigerian American, um, we still share a lot of the same experiences in this country with
Mm-hmm.
how we're perceived by
Right.
other cultural groups. And so it's amazing that we have those different layers of our own personal journeys. But
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to looking at the outside looking in, we're kind of grouped together by
Right.
other groups. So that's an interesting perspective too.
Right. And I just wanted to say, and that's the United States racial politics. And so when one comes to the United States, a part of the racialization process is that uh, no matter where you're from, you automatically become Black. And so with that Black identity comes a lot of other things that one may not be to if they don't understand American politics. And so it's multiple identities. It becomes your Haitian, Black, and American, and and just talking to just different people about the way they navigate that particular process has been very much so interesting and rewarding.
Definitely. Yeah, and it's interesting too because I studied biological anthropology, and that's essentially the study of people. And so I've always had that interest in different people's cultures. And living in a place like the East Coast, you're exposed to a lot of different cultures as well. So getting your doctorate in that field is very much to be commended. And you also got the opportunity to serve as a cultural heritage ambassador for the Nelson Mandela Museum. So could you share that experience with us and how you got the opportunity?
Thank you so much. Well, when I was I was in the process of getting my PhD in African American and African Studies at Michigan State University, I applied to become a Nelson Mandela Museum, Michigan State University Museum curatorial fellow. And with that particular opportunity, they would send you to South Africa, to Mthatha, South Africa, and spend a summer at the Nelson Mandela Museum. And Mthatha is not too far from Munu, where Nelson Mandela was actually raised. And that was just a wonderful opportunity. So while I was there, I was able to learn more about international educational programming. Because in addition of having a Black Studies degree, I also have a background in public history or curatorial studies, and my emphasis is educational programming, international educational programming. So I was able to learn about different ways that particular museum engage the community schools, engage the public, and also assist them with creating programs that will draw more people to their particular institution, and expand expand on creating like more like international programs with the youth. So that was my particular experience, and I did that 2 years in a row. So I did those 2 years in a row, and even was able to bring some international program to Detroit, Michigan, where I was also a fellow at the Hush House Black Community Museum. And so with those particular processes, it all stems from my high school experience of, wanting to make connections. It's just that instead of making connections with people, now I'm making connections with international institutions coming together who are preserving Black cultural artifacts.
Wow, that's really amazing. And that got me thinking too about the opportunities that you might have seen in Detroit, Michigan for students, even as early as high school, to have those foreign exchange experiences,
Right.
so to speak, to get more information on the African cultures. Were there any opportunities that you noted in that area in Detroit?
Well, actually, I grew up in St. Louis, and I was in Detroit, Michigan, because it's near East Lansing, Michigan, where Michigan State University is. And I did my research. Part of my research was there. But Detroit has always been a hub of like internationalism, and especially when we think of like the museum world. So they're always bringing in international artists, academics, programs to the Detroit area. So it's not very hard. Also, with Wayne State University being there, um, and also as it pertains to my own research, Detroit's strong influence on the anti-apartheid movement. Detroit has always been a central location when it comes to Black activism, Black international activism, and a hub for people from all walks of life to come to live. So, yeah, Detroit is definitely a vibrant place when we think of global a global world.
That's really amazing to hear because I know at my undergraduate institution at Penn State, we had that exchange program where students were actually able to travel to Ghana for a semester and they got to help with the students there, elementary age students. Um, and it was just a great experience for all of them to see a side of Africa that's not really portrayed in the media. Um, so it kind of dispelled a lot of stereotypes that they may have had. And of course, appreciating the fact that it is a continent, which a lot of people
Right.
don't know because of the way that the media portrays Africa. So, I mean, it's really great to see that bridge in culture. And you also have had several journal entries over the past few years. What have those experiences been like for you in your professional career, and how have they affected your personal views on the current sociopolitical climate?
Thank you so much. Well, my first article, well, the first article that I actually published was when I was in undergrad, and it was called It Doesn't Translate, the relationship between Africans and African Americans on Truman State University campus. And as you know, when you're living in the United States, just because you look alike doesn't mean that you're going to automatically get along. And so I was very interested to see what caused the tension between different Black groups. And what I found was there was a lot of just miscommunication and stereotypes on both sides. And again, once I was able to like talk to people, people were able to say, well, my mother said this or my father said this. And able to kind of like see that like one of the main issues when it came to a lot of tension was just misinformation. And at the end of that particular research that I made into like a theatrical piece, a one woman theatrical piece, I guess my remedy of the different tensions that existed between the Black population was, if you really want to know someone, talk to them, and be open to learn about someone's cultural experiences. If not, you're going to believe the hype. And in the United States, when it comes to any place outside the United States, it's very stereotypical, especially when we think of the continent of Africa and the things that we see on TV. And so vice versa, when you think of African Americans, if you look at African Americans on TV, you see a lot of criminals. So you would think that, the Black people in the United States are extremely violent, right? And so when you have those misconceptions on both sides, then, you have people who are not really engaging each other based on these particular stereotypes. And so I encourage people to, talk to each other and try to break those stereotypes to create more of a unity, um, especially when it comes to the you said the social political issues that all Black people globally go through, right? We just got the verdict that George Floyd, the police was, indicted and will be sentenced for his death. But if we look all around the world, Black people all around the world are experiencing forms of, or I say residue of slavery, colonialism, that impacts them everywhere. And it's due to these systems of patriarchy, systems of, I would say, white hegemony, and all these things that has said or deemed Black people to be inferior. And so that that piece is that first piece encouraged me to like just go a little bit deeper in people's psyches on why they felt certain ways about certain types of people. The next article was on African centered education, and I talked about the creation of a school in, I believe it was Cameroon and South Africa, because I've always been interested in the union of Africans and Africans in diaspora working together to fight political issues that causes challenges for everyone. So I really stand by Pan-Africanism, and Pan-Africanism is not saying that we all are the same. It's saying due to certain, political climates that we all experience due to our background, the color of our skin, we should work together. And so the school was called the African Center Educational, the program was called the African Center Educational Foundation, and it was created by Africans and African Americans to fight colonial systems through education. And so I talked about those schools and the people who created it. More recently, my work has been on Black women who are transnational Black women who are activists in multiple locations. And they are creating institutions, and or their writings have been used to break barriers and or merge Black freedom movements. So in the beginning, my writing was it's always been African centered. It was more on, I guess you would say, institutions, and I guess you can say like theories, but now my work is more centered on Black women's stories who build those particular institutions. Because what I found is, like, when we think of certain movements, when we think of certain ideals, when it comes to activism, even though there is a lot on Black women, I still feel that more needs to be created. And as a Black woman myself, I felt that it was my duty to contribute to that. So like my next article that I'm hoping to be published is on Mama Sandra from Detroit, Michigan, who has ties to Ghana, Belize, and even Ireland through her transnational activism. And I write about her particular institution that she built in Detroit and her transnational networks.
That is very inspiring, and I'm sure that we'll see your next publication very soon, that you just mentioned, because I think that's very important to emphasize the voice of the African and African American woman. We have a unique perspective when it comes to the socio-political events that are happening, and our lives are literally a testimony to how we experience that in a different way than our male counterparts. And so we, in a way, serve as a pillar of the community as well.
Yes.
We serve as mothers, as educators, as professionals, and activists to the 100th degree. So, I think it's really amazing that you're amplifying the voices of these women through your work.
Thank you.
And what forms of activism have you been most proud of in recent years?
Most recently, I have been using writing as a form of activism, and that is something that I am very happy about. It took me a long time to um, get to the point where I can say I'm a writer. I felt like it was kind of one of those things that you like a big like pie in the sky. Like I'm a dancer, I'm a singer, but it's like I am a writer, and so my work is always um, questioning um, the way Black people are treated, whether they are in the United States, in South Africa, or in the world in general. And my work is always centering how Black women respond to these particular issues, whether it's racism, sexism, um, different forms of capitalism and the ways that it oppressed people. So, right now, writing is a form of activism because through writing, I'm able to share the narratives of Black women who have been on the front line and writing articles. Um, it's able they're able to, it can go anywhere, especially when we think of today's technology. Like I can send it to you on email, I can post it on Facebook, I can put clips of it on Instagram, and the accessibility, right, of writing nowadays make it easier to get in the hands of many people. So now, whereas I have done more brick and mortar, if you would say, frontline activism. Um, but now I'm using writing as a form of activism. I'm hoping that through my writing that centers Black women narratives, that when people read it, they will be inspired to create a school, an African-centered school, fight against sexism, write their own book about their transnational activism, because I do believe through words you inspire and change and create or help people create new ideals.
Definitely. I agree with you 100%. Writing and so many other forms of art have really been instrumental in voicing the experience of many people, but especially when it comes to the Black community.
Right,
Because especially with music, I mean, it serves as its own form of protest in
right,
itself. And so I think that's really powerful because those words stay with you and they stay with generations to come. And people can not forget history,
right.
look back on the experience that people had during that time period. So I think that's very excellent, that you've expressed yourself in that way.
And by the way, I want to say you have a beautiful voice. I'm always happy to hear you share your music.
Thank
Look
you.
forward to hearing more of that.
Oh, thank you so much. Yes. It was one of those goals I had this year to just put out some singing videos because I don't really do that much in the hospital.
Right,
So, I think all of us have those different facets that we definitely need to display, especially with the power of social media.
right.
Whether it's starting a blog or, um, video, YouTube. I mean, there's so many different avenues that we can express our talents. So I appreciate that. And you also mentioned earlier that you transitioned to working with K to 12. So can you talk about how that transition experience was for you, and if you see any parallels in between these two lines of work?
Thank you so much. Yes, I recently got my PhD in 2019, and my first job I was a visiting professor at Eastern Michigan University in the Department of Africology. That was a 1 year position, and so then COVID hit, and I decided to that it would be best for me to go back where I had support, and that was Louisiana. And so when I was in Louisiana, I thought I was only going to be here for just, like the summer. But the job market didn't go as I planned when I was trying to get back into higher ed. and I received the opportunity to be a fifth grade teacher at a local school. And usually when you teach, you need to have a certification. But because I had a PhD, I was able to get a temporary certification for a year. So I said, okay, God, ancestors, here I go. And I transitioned. So for the last year, Dr. Tiffany Caesar has been teaching fifth grade English. And so, as far as the parallels between higher ed and I would say K through 12 is that one thing is both forms of educational spaces, you have to be extremely organized. And I would say more organized for the K through 12 setting because you're dealing with children. And children are still learning organizational skills. And I would have to say that that's one of the biggest challenges I had transitioning was because when I was teaching college, I can just tell a student to do this one time, right? But when you're teaching fifth graders, you have to show them. You have to, take your time. You have to be patient. And I feel like I'm just now getting the pace to deal with fifth graders, and slowing down for them. I would say some other parallels you will find is, I guess, just motivation. With both students, you have to motivate them. I don't care how old you are. If you're bored and you don't want to be in the class, you're going to be bored and you're not going to want to be in the class. And so for me as an educator in both, I guess, both spaces, I've had to learn how to engage students and make them want to learn. Uh, One big difference is discipline. Um, I had to learn, I'm learning how to become a disciplinarian in fifth grade. I do not have to discipline adults, thank God. But in fifth grade, that has been a challenge. It's because, you have to have strict rules to keep fifth graders in order. And so I was really used to, like saying, hey, you know, be quiet to an adult. Like, you don't have to do that to an adult. But to a 10-year-old, you have to say it like 10 times. You have to call the mom. You have to, I mean, it's so much more. And so that's what I would say one of the differences is. But I would say with both spaces, I've learned to love my students and cultivate some strong relationships. And with the K through 12, I have learned to respect it because when I say teaching is one of the most difficult jobs that a person can do, it is one of the most difficult jobs a person can do because you're not only a teacher, you're a counselor, you're a mother, you are a nurse, you are a psychologist, you're a counselor, you're so much more than someone who educates. You fulfill so many roles. And so shout out to all the teachers who might be looking or people who know teachers. I support you all and I feel you.
Yes. Honestly, you said it all because educators, I feel, have had such an important role in the lives of children, especially during this pandemic,
Mm-hmm.
especially with the transition to Zoom education. Being able to command a child's attention for that long while they sit in a chair and stare at a computer all day and don't get to see their friends. I mean, we really haven't seen too much in the news about the psychological impact that this pandemic has on children, especially because school is just, like you talked about, organization. It's literally one of the first forms of organization that students really get as children. I wake up in the morning, I go to school, and I come back home and I get to see my friends. And now you're just stuck in this one environment and you don't really know how to process everything. And
Mm-hmm.
even the younger ones who literally they started school online, I
Right.
can't even imagine,
Right.
what they've been going through. And what are some ways that you have been able to cope with the situation and also help your students to cope with online teaching?
And so actually, I don't teach online. I teach in person. And so my students had to wear masks the
Mm.
whole day, you know? And so one of the things that I do is, well, I would say like we have a recess. And so we'll go outside for maybe like 15 minutes and they can take their mask off
Right.
and come back in. But one, I'm just going to be real. One of the ways I have motivated my students is by being there. And I know that it may not be as profound, but during this particular pandemic, it hasn't been very hard. It hasn't been very easy for educators, you know, especially if you're teaching in person. At my institution, the students have to stay in one class the whole day. The teachers move around. You have to wear a mask. You have to follow COVID-19 protocol. Um, and it creates a lot of like just tension, you know. And when you're 10 and 11, you're used to moving around, you are constrained. I am an adult and I feel you know, I feel constrained. But I told myself when I started this job, no matter what, I would not quit. And so by just showing up every day, and you know, even when I have really bad days, because I do, you know, I have bad days, I have made my promise to show up every day for my students and try to give them the best of me, and also to treat them with love and respect, and show that they are that they matter. Another thing I do is I try to, as much as I can, show them images of Black excellence. So for example, I uh, we we saw a video of a Black illustrator who was probably a teenager, and he illustrates and writes. And so with that, I tell my students, you start now with your dream. So, you know, you don't have to wait to you're like an adult to start your dream. This young man is an illustrator. He's an author and he's young. Or, you know, we watched the beautiful young lady who did the poem, you know, at the inauguration. So I continuously try to show them, you know, students who look like them, or Black people who look like them, young and vibrant, who are change agents, because I want them to take their lives seriously. And so sometimes, you know, I do get the grunts. Oh, Dr. Caesar, like this is boring. I don't want to do it. But I'm hoping, I'm hoping that one day, you know, somebody, you know, out of my class will remember me, like, oh, this is what Dr. Caesar was saying. Also, I try to bring my full self to class. Like, you know, at least once a week, I'm wearing something, you know, that is African centered, whether that's a shirt or earring. I keep my hair natural. I bring my whole Black womanhood to class, you know, and confidently, so that they can see, you know, different images of Black beauty, you know? And so, for example, some of my students would be like, oh, Dr. Caesar, why you wear your hair like that? I'll say, hey, y'all, my hair, I'm locking my hair. You know, there's different ways that Black women wear their hair. Or, oh, Dr. Caesar, where you get that shirt from? You know, what does this mean? And so by, you know, wearing certain things and coming into the space a certain way, they are becoming interested in Africa and the African diaspora, and they don't even know it. So maybe when they're in college, they'll be like, you know, they'll see that study abroad program to Nigeria and be like, oh, Dr. Caesar, you know what I mean?
Right.
Probably would want us to go to Nigeria. And I'll be like, I surely do. So these are some of the things that I try to do to try to keep them motivated. And I'm still learning, especially as a new fifth grade teacher. And then you can never go wrong with snacks.
Right.
Takis. They like hot Takis. Just don't eat them. They're very bad for you.
I think that's wonderful that you're not only showing them images of people who look like them that they can aspire to
Right.
be, but you're also presenting yourself, as you said, in your full capacity, not hiding anything, and just really being who you are, from your hair to your attire, because they need to know that how they already are is acceptable. And
Exactly.
I know we have a lot of Eurocentric norms in society that a lot of places would like you to conform to, but it's very powerful that you're making that silent but powerful statement that this is my crown, this is how you're going to see it,
Mm-hmm.
and this is what I'm doing. And, the attire is also piquing that curiosity in them too, to find out about other cultures. So, children are very impressionable. And if they have that positive influence on them from a young age, I think it can only serve them well for the future.
Right.
That's wonderful. And I also saw from your page, and even you told me too through your introduction, that you have a role with holistic health.
Right.
And can you tell us a little bit about what you've done with holistic health and the role that you see for holistic health in today's world?
Well, I would say I would first like to shout out Gogo Danelle in South Africa. Um, when I was in South Africa, I went through a process to become a Sangoma. I did not finish it. But I did it for about 8 months. And so I learned some traditional tools in order to assist with my own spiritual journey, but also others. And I've always sought out an alternative route. And so the way I look at health is that it's a fusion of traditional and holistic healing, right? You need both, right, to survive. However, I do believe that if you can live your life as holistic as possible, you can avoid some of the things that I believe Western society like to emphasize, which when it comes to particularly pharmaceuticals, right? The United States is very heavy with giving drugs, and I'm not saying that it's that you don't need to take pills. Sometimes you do, but I do feel like in the United States we over medicate. So, what are some of the things that you can do to prevent yourself from being on the traditional Western, pharmaceutical diet? Is eat right, right? Exercise. Try to put yourself in an environment that is healthy for your mind, body, and spirit. And one of the big alternative health treatments that I use in my life and I encourage others is fasting. I do water fasting, tea fasting, occasionally OMAD, 1 meal a day throughout the year. And matter of fact, when I came to New Iberia a year ago, I was 46 pounds overweight. Through fasting, eating right, just meditating, walking, and just getting myself around a different environment, one that was more healthy, I was able to lose 46 pounds. And what that showed me was with a little dedication, a little bit of time in yourself, you can do it. You don't have to take the pills, right? You don't have to do the surgery. You don't have to do these quick fixes, because what quick fixes do is it hides the symptoms, right?
Right.
And I'm not saying that, I'm not bashing people who do surgeries or things like this to be healthy. But what I'm saying is, if you don't do a lifestyle change, if you do these particular things that quickly get you to where you want to be, you will get back to where you want. You'll get back to being overweight. You will get back to the things that you try to get rid of, because you haven't changed the cause. You haven't changed the root. So I'm really big on, as a holistic healer, I'm really big on people taking that journey to self-educate themselves. So I wouldn't want anyone to follow me and do exactly what I do. What I will do is bring a plate to you and say, look, these are all the different things that you can do to get your life together, right? You can exercise, you can fast, you can read, you can change your environment. Sometimes it's a job. You can quit your job, go somewhere else. But whatever you do, choose what's going to work for you and be consistent. Because when you're consistent with that, then, that's where the change happens. So fasting may work for me, but it may not work for you. Maybe it's an intermediate diet, eating after 12, right? Maybe it's eating only fish and not meat. But what I encourage people to do as a healer is to find a holistic health plan that caters to your authentic life. And it's inclusive of your spirituality. It's inclusive of your exercise and your food style, and your mental state. And so those are some of the things that I do. And as you mentioned, uh, I have created online programs where I have allowed other women and other people to share their own forms of self-care, because at the end of the day, at the base of it is self-care. If you don't take care of yourself, who else will take care of you? And so I'm really a big pusher on taking the initiative. You take the initiative. I can provide you with tools, but I can't do the tools for you.
I think that's very excellent, because that's why I'm such a huge advocate of holistic health as well. There are so many components that you mentioned, such as spirituality, meditating, looking at your physical environment, because there are a lot of stress factors that can be around you that you have to physically remove yourself from,
Right.
that are causing stress. Because what chronic stress does is increases these inflammatory markers in the body, and it actually suppresses your immune system and can lead to chronic illness. And so we look at stress as a contributing factor to chronic illness, and that's so great that you mentioned that people should be aware of that. And also the diet and movement, because especially people who may have an office job where they don't get to move around that much, and they have to rely on fast food, or they feel as though they haven't really thought outside the box in terms of ways that they can kind of supplement healthier food options. And even the fasting that you talked about is very effective for a lot of people. But as you mentioned correctly, so there's not a one size fits all when it
Right.
comes to lifestyle. And people have to be mindful of their personal metabolic rate, because that affects how fast they could lose weight.
Mm-hmm.
Also, like you said, some people may benefit from a pescatarian diet or a vegetarian or vegan. It just depends on their particular and unique health profile. So I think that, there's so many natural remedies that you talked about that people can try before getting hooked on the pharmaceutical side.
Yeah.
Because once you start, it's can be difficult to stop.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And you mentioned the fasting as well, soup and teas, and I saw that you were making some soups and teas too on your page. So what are some of the types of soups and teas that you were using?
Well, one of my biggest fasting tools I use is tea. And the reason I use tea, because I've done water fast, but what I find is that with water fasting, it's hard to do anything else because you don't have any type of nutrients in your body. But when you do a tea, most tea have some form of antioxidants in it. So it gives you a little bit of energy and at least makes you feel like you're doing something more than just drinking water. Bay leaf tea. I love my bay leaf tea. And my father, he would go to a tree in Louisiana and bring me back fresh bay leaf, and I literally just boil it in a pot, and I drink it like that. Now, if you want to get fancy, you can get the tea accessories, right? But you can just put a couple of leaves in a cup and pour it over, and just try not to swallow the leaf. It's not going to hurt you. Bay leaf is edible. You can do that with any tea. You can do it with a green tea. I've done jasmine tea. I've done a black tea. And if you want to add more to it, you can do sea moss. Sea moss, a lot of people have been talking about sea moss. Sea moss have, I think they said 92 essential, like, I guess, things that the body needs to survive. So there are ways to supplement your fast. You can do it with tea. You can do it with sea moss. You can do it with juicing. You can do it with by like doing one meal a day, right? Just kind of cutting off breakfast and lunch and say, hey, I'm only going to eat dinner. But it's, yeah, I usually do a tea. As far as soups, I do enjoy making my soups. Soups are anything with water in it, vegetables with water. Usually it's best because I do meat, you know. So I love my onions. I love my peppers and potatoes, greens and water. So soup for me is anything that I can put like water over, and I can consume, which usually consists of vegetables.
That sounds really healthy, and I know that a lot of people benefit from that liquid diet because it's easier for the body to process. They don't have to spend hours digesting all this solid food, and it also just makes you feel lighter throughout the day and clears up that brain fog that people can get from having such a diet filled with saturated fats and all the crazy things out there.
Right, right.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I really do agree with you on many of those points in terms of holistic health. And you've pretty much done it all. You've had this experience abroad. You've been involved with um, just amplifying the voices of so many women in the community when it comes to a wide variety of topics. And going forward, what are your plans for building your brand in the future and continuing your role as an activist?
Thank you so much. Last year, I created an online platform called Black Meditations with Dr. Caesar. It's on Facebook, and what I do is I interview um, people who have positively impacted their community. So it can be artists, it can be activists, it can be political figures, right? And a part of my brand is about sharing the narratives to others to inspire them, similar to what you are doing with Testimony Tuesdays. And I would like to continue with that. I think it's so important to provide a space for people to share their stories, because it's through sharing your story that other people are inspired, and you just never know who's listening. And I remember when I created Black Meditations with Dr. Caesar, um, it was a lot going on, right? We had the police brutality, we had the protests that were going on. And I remember being in New Iberia thinking, man, what can I do to make an impact? How can I share the narratives of people who are on the front line, people who are making a difference? And I was like, well, I have the internet, I have a computer, and I know people. You see, I know some really great people. So with the encouragement of my friends, I went ahead and created Black Meditations with Dr. Caesar. And through that platform, I have interviewed, diverse people and inspired many people. And we're also currently working on our next launch, which is going to be in May. And so I've even cultivated a little team. So I started by myself, and now I have two other beautiful women. Shout out to Tamara and Taliba, who are helping me to organize, because I realized that you don't have to do it by yourself. You know what I mean? You can build a team, you can have people help you. And so I want to continue to share the stories of people within the Black community who are making a difference, and particularly stories of people that you might not know of. It's not always, you're not going to always have A-listers, right? But I want people to know you are an A-lister regardless if you're doing something in your community, whether it is a food pantry, right, to a tutoring, to singing, to your local nursery homes. Whatever you're doing that is positively impacting the community makes your story worthy of sharing. So as far as my brand, I look forward to continuing with Black Meditations with Dr. Caesar. Hopefully I can get you on,
That would be an honor. Just let me know when.
story as well. Also, book. There are books. I have to have books. I talk about having books like babies, and so within this next year, I'm going to publish my first book. And my first book has to center around health and fasting. Fasting as a form of political resistance, fasting as a form of self care, and how I use fasting to center my life and others as well, because I so much believe in fasting, but not just fasting as a holistic health thing, but the political and social economic factors of fasting, because honestly, everybody cannot afford health care. So if you can't afford, good health care, what are other traditional things you can do to take care of yourself? And I believe that fasting is something that anybody can do, and it doesn't cost a lot of money. But of course, you have to do your research. Anything that you do, you have to do your research. And if you know somebody who has fasted, I definitely would say talk to them, read a book, right? I definitely see within my brand a book coming out pretty soon about the politics of fasting and self-care. In addition, more traveling. I haven't been able to go anywhere within this last year, so I look forward to sharing my narrative in more global spaces, hitting your home country. I was in Cameroon and did not go to Nigeria, so I have to go to Nigeria, and just go to other spaces and continue to network with beautiful Black women who are making a difference around the world. So these are some of the things that, I see myself doing in order to expand my brand, because at the center of my brand is helping people, helping people.
I love it. I love everything you said. And I like especially the fact that at the center of your goals going forward, you want to help people, because there's always someone to be helped. And in helping others, we can build a network of people who can impact the community. So I think that's amazing. And that you've expanded Black Meditations with Dr. Caesar to a team. And as you said, I'll definitely love to be a guest on there whenever you have a chance, because I totally agree with your point that sharing these stories is a way to uplift people, especially those who are going through similar
Right.
circumstances that we are, that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. So it's great to uplift others by sharing your own testimony. And that was the premise of this series as well. So I love seeing you doing that so effectively as well with Black Meditations with Dr. Caesar.
Thank you so much.
And I know that your book with fasting is going to be amazing too, because I haven't studied it in terms of the political effect. And I think that will be amazing for people to learn, because it's somewhat been associated with religious and health purposes, but seeing it as having a political role is empowering in itself.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. Well, Dr. Caesar, it's been such a pleasure speaking with you this evening. I really appreciate your time and the thorough answers to the questions that I had. You hit all the points perfectly, and that really inspired everyone who was able to witness this interview. And for those who missed it, it will be available on YouTube as well as this Instagram page after the interview, so you can watch from the beginning. And do you have any websites or links that anyone can follow to keep updated with you?
Thank you. Yes, so much. So I mentioned on Facebook, I have Black Meditations with Dr. Caesar. It's literally spelled just like that. Black Meditations with Dr. Caesar. You can look that up. You can look me up on Facebook, Tiffany D. Caesar. Also on Instagram, I'm Tiffany D. Caesar. And I'm working on a website, but I don't have it up yet. But you can find me on Facebook as well as Instagram. I also have a YouTube, Tiffany D. Caesar. Tiffany D. Caesar, where I also upload my episodes of Black Meditation with Dr. Caesar for people to see. So these are some of the places where you can find me and contact me. I love meeting new people, and engaging new people. So please come to one of my spaces.
Perfect. I'll definitely find you on YouTube as well so we can connect that way and see the other episodes that you've had of your show, because I definitely feel as though it's such an inspiring project that you've got. And I know it's going to expand 100-fold, because the power of social media is very incredible. So
Right.
I wish you all the best in the endeavors that you have for this year and beyond. And I know we'll definitely be in touch. We've been connected on Instagram for a while, so we'll definitely be in touch after this interview.
Thank you so much. I truly appreciate it. And I'm sending you positive vibes, abundance, and growth in all your endeavors.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And thank you for everyone who was able to tune in. As I mentioned, you can watch this on YouTube afterwards. The link will be in my bio. And also it will be on IGTV on this Instagram page. So thanks again for everyone tuning in. And I wish everyone a beautiful rest of the week. And have a great evening, Dr. Caesar. And we'll talk soon.
All right. Bye.
Bye.